All right, welcome back, everybody. It is going to be Seahawks and the Lions are going to be Monday Night Football. What do you have to say, mostly, about this game? And I think first and foremost is there's a certain thing that we all are talking about this game. I want to kind of leave that until the end, but
Right,
let's do the
before we
bread and
jump
butter first.
to the end, because that's literally where it is.
Yeah,
It was a pretty defensive game,
yeah,
which I was honestly pretty impressed with the Lions defense. I know like Lynch is hurt and all that, but it was still impressive. I mean, they ended the game on a what they sacked. The last I think points of the game was a sack on Russell Wilson, and
yeah.
they he fumbled it and they ran it back for a touchdown. Held Seattle to 13 points. It was a I mean, honestly, it's just a heartbreaking loss if you're Detroit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when you're really searching for a win a quarter way
Right.
through the season and everything. And you mentioned about Marshawn Lynch. I think it's made abundantly clear that Thomas Rawls is not Marshawn Lynch, and they really miss him when he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, him and Fred Jackson together couldn't do what Lynch usually does by himself.
Yeah,
Fred Jackson is just like I really liked him as a player. He's kept it together. I think he's the oldest running back in the league, right? Uh,
one of them, if not the oldest.
yeah, he's definitely up there. But this might be the year he's not looking so hot. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. And it's I think what's bizarre about Marshawn Lynch is that when it originally came out with like a hamstring injury, that everyone was kind of keeping it's like, oh, it's not really a big deal. Like he'd say something if it was, and now he's missing a game over it. So I think
Yeah.
and then we kind of I think brushed on this last week a little bit too of how it was almost weird how much like they didn't know what was going on with him, and now that he's missing a game. Uh, I don't think he's going to miss week 5 because of it. I would be really surprised if he did, but I just think it's still kind of bizarre how they handled it when they were announcing that he did have a hamstring. Like, almost like they're embarrassed to say that he has a
Yeah,
hamstring
yeah.
injury in a
Well,
way.
considering how many injuries he like is known for playing through, especially like anyone that's ever owned him in fantasy sees he has an injury almost every week, like every year, and
Um,
he plays. He's always just played anyway, and he's done great most of the time. So he must be really feeling it if he's sitting out.
yeah, yeah,
He it's got to be, they, it's got to be a little bit worse than they're letting on.
yeah. And uh, I guess, like, the next question comes up, what is with the Lions? Why are they 0-4 this year? I mean, I know it was a tough game, a very tough game coming to Seattle to play, and they still came close to the win, but they can't close out the games. And I know for one thing is that they have the worst running in the NFL so far this year.
Right, and I mean Calvin Johnson's been a little bit off.
Yeah,
So has Stafford. They haven't been quite as in tandem as they are most years. When they make the playoffs. I mean, they had a bad matchup last week against Denver. That's
yeah,
a great defense. It's not that surprising that they've lost. And then did they play? They played the Chargers and Minnesota. And the Minnesota losses, none of those losses are that surprising. I mean, honestly, it's just been a bunch of rough matchups. I think they're better than their record reflects. They'll get a win, and I doubt very serious they're going to finish at the bottom of the NFL. You know what I mean?
no, I don't think so either. But I do agree with you that Calvin Johnson isn't looking like what Calvin Johnson normally looks like. And I guess a question that comes up with a lot of NFL players is it due to age? Is there something else going on? And I always hate bringing up age because it's always kind of like people just expect like once you hit some certain number that you're just destined to fail. And it's been proven
Right.
lots of times that these players who go over that certain number gap and still play. I mean, look at Steve Smith Senior. He was doing this year, and
Right.
so
You get a few quarterbacks every now and then that are able to keep playing.
yeah,
Wide receivers, usually can make it to their late 30s, and running backs probably the earliest. That's why I'm so impressed with Fred Jackson still being as good as he's been.
yeah,
But I thought actually Calvin Johnson looked better this game through most of the game
yeah,
until, ironically, I guess we can get to it, the last play of the game, right?
right.
but that was just a good defensive play, I think.
Yeah, I mean, round of
To
applause and hats off to Cam Chancellor with seeing that, and going for the kill and executing it and having it work for him like tremendously. But what didn't unfortunately work for the Lions is that bad call,
right,
or lack of a
let's
call.
talk about this call.
Yeah,
Okay, first of all, it was clearly intentional. I don't see how you can like anyone thinks it wasn't intentional. He put his hand out, go boink, and push it out. You know,
yeah,
like from every angle I've seen it from, his arm extended and he pushed it. Like that's intentional. Who unintentionally stretches their arm out and hits something? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
was he having a muscle spasm? Like, what a bunch of bullshit. Uh, at the same time, there's been a lot said about how close it was. It was the same end zone that the Hail Mary play had in, like 20 feet away. I think they said it was literally like 20 feet from the spot, something like
Right.
that. And some people were calling it, like jokingly calling the end zone the 13th man. But here's the thing. I don't know if anyone's talked about the comparisons. In my opinion, it's not quite as bad as the Hail Mary call. And the reason is that was a catch. That was a game winner. Packers win. This call, there's no guarantee the Lions still win this game because, yeah, the ball's going on like, the 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, they haven't won yet.
Yeah.
You know, it probably changed the game, but not 100% necessarily changed the outcome of the game. And the weirdest thing to me is, why the hell did he even do that? Why didn't he just fucking grab it?
And Neil.
You know, why he could have just... And then there wouldn't even been any controversy. Like, it was such a weird decision to just push it out.
Yeah.
You know? I don't get that.
The one thing I really don't like is I hear a lot of talk of people. I don't want to necessarily say defending the Seahawks in this, but mostly defending the refs' poor lack of call in this. And what I hear a lot is just like, well, the Lions are 0-4 anyway. They're a bad team, and like they finally were looking good at that last drive. I was like, that's not a good enough excuse to not have a proper officiating call at this.
To me, that's all the more reason to call it.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then you screw them.
Yeah.
You know, that's...
I just really hate that argument, and I've heard it multiple times now. It's just like, oh, well, they're doing bad all game, so who cares? I'm like, I think a lot of Lions fans care, first of all, and I think it's just NFL fans in general. You should care.
Right,
that.
You're concerned about the integrity of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And
why was everyone so pissed off about this whole Deflategate BS that they talked about? It was the integrity of the game, right?
Exactly.
So that argument doesn't make sense to me. Unless those people probably didn't give a shit about the whole deflated balls incident either, I would assume.
I guess so, yeah.
Probably did, because everyone likes to hate on Brady. So they probably did care, and they're probably being hypocritical.
Right. But I guess to kind of drive this out, I thought Russell Wilson looked great during this entire game. Maybe not the entire game, but overall looked really good. He's looking, I think, better and better every week. We talked about last week of the new potential Elite Four and who may be in it. And honestly, for the fourth place spot, I think, in my opinion, between Carson Palmer and Russell Wilson, they might be tied to potentially take that fourth spot this year.
Maybe for like 1 year, yeah.
For 1 year, like this year specifically, because there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the NFL, and I think Russell Wilson, I think he's getting better every week. He's fixing mistakes that he needed to work on in the first 2 weeks with the losses and everything. And all I'm saying is that by November, December, I would almost be scared to play him if he continues getting better.
Well, that's how Seattle has been the last few years. They've had slow starts, and then they pick up mid-season and late season, and they really get into their, the way they've looked, their championship form, I guess.
Yeah.
They had a slow start last season. I don't think they went 0-2.
No.
But it was still a pretty rough start before they got things going. So,
Right. Well, I
who
guess
knows?
on top of that, I want to say I apologize for the lack of good video quality and possibly audio quality of this video. My computer's been running kind of strange. I'm going to try to fix it before I continue on with the next set of videos because I guess, now this is our first video that we're recording for the session. And the other thing...
Whoa.
Ooh,
Behind the
yeah, a
scenes
little...
magic.
Sorry. Here's our producers on this side and our executives on this side. And on top of that, I am going to be adding our Facebook page and our Twitter account in the description. I won't put annotations because I always think annotations are bullshit YouTube videos. But you can click on our links down in the description to follow our Facebook and Twitter and get to follow more of what we do throughout the week. So see you next time for the